There are people who laugh a little louder than the moment requires. People whose smiles appear instantly, effortlessly, almost reflexively. To most, they seem light, warm, easy to be around. But beneath that brightness lives a quieter truth, a softness they have learned to protect, a weight they carry alone. This is the hidden art of laughing to hide sadness, a survival rhythm shaped over years, where humor becomes a shield and lightness becomes a language of safety. These people sense the room, absorb its tension, and offer joy like a gift, hoping no one notices the tremor beneath it. Not because they are dishonest, but because sadness, when spoken aloud, has betrayed them before. And so their smile becomes their sanctuary, a gentle disguise for a heart that feels deeply. Chapter 1. The Mask of Lightness. There is a moment, often unnoticed, when a person laughs just a fraction sooner than everyone else. A softness flickers in their eyes, then disappears beneath practiced brightness. The room relaxes. People smile back. And for a brief second, the performance feels natural, almost real. But later, when the noise settles, something inside them wonders why the laughter felt like a reflex rather than a choice. This is the first quiet recognition, the understanding that their joy is sometimes a mask, woven gently over a sadness they rarely name. They know how to read a room before anyone else. They sense tension instantly, like a shift in temperature. A joke becomes a bridge, a smile becomes a shield, and lightness becomes their safest language. Others describe them as easygoing, the fun one, someone who turns heavy moments into gentle ones. And in many ways that is true. Their humor is genuine. Their warmth is real. But beneath it lies a tenderness shaped by years of carrying emotions quietly. At night, when the world is still, their laughter echoes differently. It feels distant, like a voice that belongs to someone who learned long ago that sadness must stay hidden if they want to keep the peace, keep the connection, keep themselves safe. They do not see themselves as deceptive, just adaptive, just trying to protect the parts of them that feel too fragile to place in someone else's hands. And so the mask stays, soft, bright, familiar. A gentle disguise that keeps their sadness tucked behind a smile the world has grown to love. Chapter 2. Where the pattern begins. It often starts quietly, long before a person understands what sadness even means. In childhood, emotional patterns form not through lessons, but through atmosphere. A tense home, a sensitive parent, a family that prefers calm over conflict. In these spaces, children learn to read emotions with an almost instinctive accuracy. Some discover that when they make others laugh, the air softens, arguments pause, faces relax, the room becomes safer. So the child repeats the behavior, not because they enjoy performing, but because it brings a moment of peace, a peace they long for more than anything else. Others grow up in homes where sadness is dismissed. Don't cry. You're too sensitive. Cheer up, there's nothing wrong. And slowly, they begin to understand that their emotions are burdensome, inconvenient, or simply unwelcome. If sadness draws criticism, but laughter draws affection, the choice becomes simple. Humor becomes a doorway back to connection. Lightness becomes the price of belonging. And a child, eager to be loved, learns the pattern so deeply it becomes second nature. Later, in adolescence, this pattern evolves into a persona, the funny friend, the playful one, the mood setter. Their peers admire their ability to turn heaviness into ease. But no one sees the moments afterward, the quiet exhaustion, the unspoken fear that if they stopped being entertaining, the connection might fade. By adulthood, the mask is no longer a performance. It's an identity, a way of moving through the world that feels both protective and imprisoning. And yet, beneath it all, the origins remain the same. A heart that learned early on that laughter was safer than sadness, and that peace, any peace, was worth the cost of hiding. Chapter 3. Humor as a psychological defense. Psychologists often describe humor as one of the most sophisticated defense mechanisms. Not because it avoids emotion, but because it transforms it. Pain becomes a story. Fear becomes irony. Sadness becomes a softened punchline that others can accept without discomfort. For people who laugh to hide their sadness, this mechanism operates almost automatically. The brain, shaped by years of emotional patterning, chooses the safest route each time vulnerability rises. Instead of allowing sadness to reach the surface, where it might invite judgment, concern, or misunderstanding, the mind redirects the emotional charge into humor. Neurologically, this shift gives temporary relief. Laughter releases endorphins, lowers stress hormones, and creates a momentary sense of lightness. The body feels safer. The mind feels clearer. This is why the strategy works so well, and why it becomes so habitual. But beneath the surface, something else is happening. Attachment theory suggests that people who mask their emotions often fear that being fully seen might lead to rejection. Their internal narrative whispers, "Be fun. Be easy. Don't be a burden." And the mask responds accordingly. From a behavioral standpoint, humor becomes a form of emotional regulation. It prevents overwhelm. It shields others from discomfort. And it protects the self from the vulnerability of being misunderstood. Yet this defense has its limit. While laughter can soothe the moment, it can also silence deeper needs. It can create distance where closeness is needed most. Over time, the person begins to feel split, the outward lightness that others adore, and the inward heaviness that rarely meets the world. This is the quiet paradox of humor as defense, comforting, adaptive, yet quietly lonely. Chapter 4. The silent battle within. Behind the laughter, a quiet war rages. It is subtle, almost invisible, yet exhausting. The person who hides sadness behind humor carries two selves, the one the world sees and the one the world rarely glimpses. They long to be understood, yet fear exposure. Every joke delivered carries a hidden question: will anyone notice what I am really feeling? Every smile, a small act of protection. Every witty comment, a gentle deflection from the weight they cannot release. This inner conflict is not simple. They crave intimacy, the comfort of being fully known, yet the mask has become both armor and habit. Vulnerability, once dangerous, now feels foreign. Trust must be earned carefully, measured by tiny gestures, small consistency. One misstep could undo the delicate equilibrium they maintain. There is also fatigue. Emotional energy spent sustaining a public persona can be draining. They smile when they are tired. They joke when they are sad. Sometimes, the act of holding up the mask becomes heavier than the sadness itself. And yet, resistance persists. The world often rewards the mask. People gravitate toward the lightness, praise the humor, and leave little room for the unguarded self. The very behaviors that protect them can also trap them. This is the silent battle, a tug-of-war between desire and fear, between expression and concealment, between the longing to be seen and the need to stay safe. It is a struggle carried in the chest, quiet but unrelenting, shaping every interaction, every pause, every careful word. Here, laughter is no longer just a shield. It is a mirror of the tension that exists within. Chapter 5. When the mask cracks, there are moments when the mask falters. A joke lands differently. A laugh lingers too long. Or someone sees, just briefly, past the brightness into the shadow it conceals. These moments are quiet but seismic. Perhaps a friend asks, "Are you okay?" in a way that feels sincere, or a small act of kindness pierces the habitual defenses. Suddenly, the person realizes how heavy the mask has been, not just physically, but emotionally. The laughter that once felt effortless now feels like a weight carried across every day, every conversation, every interaction. It is here, in this unguarded fracture, that insight arrives. Hiding sadness has a cost. It shields from immediate discomfort, but it also distances, isolates, and suppresses authenticity. They see, perhaps for the first time, the cumulative toll of years spent smiling through grief, distraction, and fatigue. At the same time, there is a strange relief in being noticed. Even a fleeting recognition of their true emotion can illuminate the possibility of safety, of connection, of being fully human without apology. The realization is subtle. No longer can laughter serve as a complete substitute for honesty. Vulnerability does not have to be catastrophic. The world may not recoil. The cost of continued concealment becomes more visible than the fear of exposure. The crack does not shatter them. It awakens them. A small, trembling awareness takes root. Authenticity may be uncomfortable, but it is also necessary. And in that trembling awareness, the first seeds of change appear, quiet, tentative, but undeniable. Chapter 6. Allowing softness to exist. Healing begins not with grand gestures, but with small, quiet permissions. The person who has long hidden sadness behind laughter starts to experiment with softness, allowing themselves moments of unguarded emotion. It might be a pause before a joke, a tear unnoticed yet fully felt, a sigh that carries weight instead of deflection. Integration is subtle. It is not abandoning humor, nor rejecting lightness. It is learning that laughter and sadness can coexist, that joy need not erase grief, and that vulnerability is not weakness but a form of courage. Over time, the mask becomes less rigid. It bends, shifts, and eventually feels less like a barrier and more like a choice, a tool used intentionally rather than reflexively. Relationships begin to change. When they allow small glimpses of their authentic self, connections deepen. People respond not only to the warmth they already offer, but also to the truth they now reveal. The laughter no longer conceals entirely, it complements. It becomes part of a fuller spectrum, a richer emotional landscape where sadness is acknowledged, and joy is not performative but genuine. The process is neither linear nor complete. Old habits linger, and the instinct to mask remains. Yet with each small act of honesty, the burden lightens, and the inner conflict softens. Softness, once foreign and threatening, becomes familiar. Not loud, not performative, just present. And in that presence, the person begins to experience life differently, not as a series of performances, but as moments of true human resonance, where laughter and sadness share the same space, equally valid, equally real. Chapter 7. The quiet freedom of being seen. There comes a time when the mask is no longer a necessity. Not because the world has changed, but because they have. They have learned that to be fully human is to carry both light and shadow with equal grace. Laughter still comes, warm and spontaneous, but it no longer serves as armor. It is a companion, a melody that rises alongside tears, sighs, and quiet moments of reflection. Sadness, too, is welcome, not a weakness, not a secret to conceal, but a voice that speaks of depth, sensitivity, and lived experience. In this space, connection feels different. The eyes of others meet theirs not merely in response to performance, but in recognition of authenticity. There is a stillness in being seen, a gentle freedom in letting the full spectrum of emotion exist simultaneously. They are no longer the funny one alone, they are fully themselves, a mixture of warmth, vulnerability, and resilience. This quiet freedom is not loud or dramatic. It is a subtle rhythm in the heart, a breathing space where every emotion has its place. A smile can bloom after a tear. A laugh can rise alongside sorrow. The room does not demand perfection. Neither do they. And in that balance, they discover the beauty of being truly present. The world is no longer a stage to perform on, but a space to inhabit with softness, honesty, and grace. The heart that once hid behind laughter now moves openly, gently, freely, aware that to be seen fully is not danger, but home. Laughter and sadness coexist, not as contradictions, but as companions. And for the first time, the person realizes that hiding is optional, and being seen is everything.